What is up, everybody? It's Animac here for AnimeUproar, and in this video we will be talking about Zeldris, the younger brother of Meliodas, whose ultimate fate remains a mystery as of the making of this video. A fact that underscores even further the tragic nature of the life that Zeldris has led up to this point. A video on Zeldris has been highly requested by literally hundreds of you guys, especially with the latest events in the manga turning out the way that they did. So thank you all for the requests. In this video, I will examine the tragic life of Zeldris, and I will argue that although it may not seem that way at first, Zeldris is actually one of the more developed characters in the Seven Deadly Sins, and probably the biggest unsung hero of the entire story. Before we jump into it, I want to give a huge thank you to Raid Shadow Legends for sponsoring this video. Raid Shadow Legends is a mobile RPG that breaks the mold, challenges your expectations, and immerses you in its amazing storyline, awesome 3D graphics, and epic action, including giant boss fights, PvP battles, and hundreds of unique champions that you can collect and customize. I did not expect this level of detail and performance out of a mobile game. Look how crazy the level of detail is on these champions, and it's not just their design. The champions have their own unique style and attitude that makes them really interesting as characters. Raid is getting big real fast, and with good reason, so be sure to jump in early and get a huge head start on the competition. There is a special launch tournament coming up with crazy prizes, and if you go to the description of this video right now and download Raid exclusively through my link, you will get 50,000 in silver immediately. And you will get a free epic champion on top of that as part of the new player program, courtesy of the dev team. Try it out for yourself right now. The game is totally free on Android and iOS. Quick warning, this video will feature manga spoilers. Everything related to Zeldris that has been covered in the manga is fair game. With that said, proceed with caution, you have been warned. When we first meet Zeldris, he is serving as the piety of the Ten Commandments and as the Demon King's representative, so he is the de facto leader of the group. In the beginning, Zeldris is portrayed as a villain, and his hatred for his own brother Meliodas, the hero of our story, instantly makes us think that Zeldris is the bad guy. Once he is released from the coffin of eternal darkness, Zeldris wants to exact revenge on Meliodas for betraying the demon clan 3,000 years ago and siding with the goddesses. An act which ultimately led to the demons being sealed inside the coffin in the first place. This is a pretty simple setup for a villain. Evil Demon Prince is angry about his brother's betrayal and wants to get revenge. Zeldris has a cool character design, especially since his appearance is so similar to Meliodas. And he is a strong and determined villain, which makes him a fun character to watch, but it doesn't make him a particularly deep character. However, if there is one thing that the Seven Deadly Sins series does extremely well, it is developing characters and uncovering their individual complexities beyond just our first impressions of them. Growing up as the younger brother of Meliodas and the youngest son of the Demon King, Zeldris would have had a very difficult family dynamic. Meliodas always had incredible potential as a demon, and the Demon King calls him the source of destruction. Because of this, Meliodas was always presumed to be the heir to the Demon King's throne, and Zeldris was always meant to simply remain in Meliodas' shadow. Before he met Elizabeth, Meliodas was known as the strongest and most ruthless warrior of the Demon Clan, and Zeldris was merely the younger, less powerful brother. But there were also some benefits to growing up as the brother of Meliodas, including the fact that Zeldris had the opportunity to train with his brother. And due to his brother's immense power, this meant that Zeldris had the opportunity to keep getting stronger. Another very important aspect of Zeldris' difficult family situation is of course his father, the Demon King. We don't know who the mother of Meliodas and Zeldris was or what she was like, but we know that the Demon King is a ruthless ruler with serious trust issues. Because he was betrayed multiple times, including by the original demon and then later by Meliodas, the Demon King doesn't trust anyone and he values power and control above all else. The reason he values power and control is because being completely in control reduces the chances of someone betraying you or stabbing you in the back. And because he is so obsessed with control, the Demon King considers the things that cannot be controlled, such as love and compassion, to be signs of weakness. Growing up with a father who rejects all forms of emotion, including love and compassion, and values only ruthless power and control would be difficult for anyone, and Zeldris is no exception. By the way, if you would like to know more about the psychology of the Demon King and why he became the type of person he is today, feel free to check out my video on the Demon King and his psyche, link in the description. Now, just try to put yourself in Zeldris' shoes. He grew up in the shadow of his older and stronger brother, and he grew up with a father who valued power above all else. So naturally the father would prefer the stronger brother and treat the younger and weaker brother less favorably. The Demon King makes it a point to mock the idea of love and falling for a woman, and he calls anyone who falls in love weak, so it is likely that Zeldris would have internalized some of this contempt for love. When Meliodas betrays the Demon Clan because he fell in love with Elizabeth, Zeldris is furious and he wants revenge. Having been raised to think that love is weakness, Zeldris blames Elizabeth for corrupting his brother, and he initially shares his father's disgust for what Meliodas has done. At first glance, it might appear that Zeldris grew up to become exactly what his father wanted him to be, a ruthless demon prince who values only power and loyalty and who scoffs at the idea of love and emotion. But there is more to Zeldris' story. We later learned that despite of all the love bashing that the Demon King must have exposed him to growing up, Zeldris did eventually end up falling in love with a woman named Gelda, who was a member of the Vampire Clan. During the previous Holy War, the vampires were allied with the demons, but at some point the Vampire King Israf decided to rebel against the Demon King. And for this betrayal, the Demon King sentenced the entire vampire clan to death. What's more, the Demon King sent Zeldris to carry out the death sentence precisely because he wanted to remind Zeldris that he must be loyal to the Demon King above all else and that he must never let a woman or feelings of any kind get in the way. However, despite all the indoctrination that he had been exposed to for his entire life by the Demon King, Zeldris cannot bring himself to kill Gelda, so he decides to seal the vampires away instead of killing them. By doing this, Zeldris betrays his father and his wishes. And it isn't hard to see that Zeldris' apparent hatred for Meliodas and Elizabeth and their betrayal is in part a manifestation of the self-hatred that Zeldris feels because he knows that he also betrayed his father in the name of love, just like Meliodas. It might seem hypocritical for Zeldris to be angry at Meliodas when he is also guilty of a similar sin, but it isn't uncommon for someone who feels guilt about their own actions to project that guilt onto others and to be angry at them. Because this is usually much easier than actually coming to terms with your own inner demons, no pun intended. Nonetheless, Zeldris does eventually come to terms with his true feelings, and he decides that his love for Gelda is more important than his loyalty to a ruthless and merciless father. Even though we find out that he had hopes of becoming the next Demon King himself so that he could free Gelda and bring peace and harmony to the underworld, Zeldris decides to support his older brother Meliodas in becoming the next Demon King in return for Meliodas releasing Gelda from the seal so that they could finally be together. The Demon King later mocks Zeldris' ambition to become the next Demon King and bring peace and harmony to the clans of the underworld, including the demons and vampires, but this ambition that Zeldris held tells us a lot about what kind of person he actually is. Even though he was raised by the ruthless Demon King, Zeldris wanted to be a different kind of ruler. Someone who governs through peace and harmony rather than war and terror. Even though he eventually gave up on his ambition to become the Demon King and decided to support Meliodas, if he had become the Demon King, it is clear that Zeldris would have ruled much differently from his father. He would not have considered his love for Gelda to be a weakness, and he would have tried to reconcile the different factions of the underworld instead of simply destroying all perceived threats and rivals. After Meliodas agrees to release Gelda if he becomes the Demon King, Zeldris willingly sacrifices himself multiple times in order to make that happen. He challenges Escanor, Merlin, Ludoshel, Mael, and the others when they attempt to stop Meliodas from absorbing the commandments. And as we know, Zeldris takes a significant amount of punishment as a result. And when it turns out that Meliodas had not become the Demon King, but instead the Demon King had possessed his body, Zeldris decides to sacrifice himself once again by taking the Demon King head on, and he is severely injured in the process. After this, the ultimate fate of Zeldris remains unknown for multiple manga chapters, and this underscores the nature of Zeldris' entire life. Zeldris grew up in difficult family circumstances, the son of a cruel and ruthless father and the brother of Meliodas, a stronger demon prince and the heir apparent to the Demon King's throne. After Meliodas, the favorite son, betrays the Demon Clan, Zeldris is conflicted between his loyalty to his father and the clan and his relationship with his older brother. But more than that, Zeldris is conflicted between the strict beliefs of his father, beliefs that condemn all forms of emotion including love, and his own powerful feelings for Gelda. Just as Meliodas, Bon, and the other main characters of the Seven Deadly Sins story struggle both externally and internally throughout the series, Zeldris also goes through this same type of struggle. Eventually he decides to stand up to his father. He disobeys the command to kill the vampires, and he plans to become a different kind of ruler when he inherits the throne. And once he realizes that Meliodas is the one who is more likely to become the next Demon King, Zeldris decides to support him even at the risk of losing his own life. In this sense, Zeldris really is the unsung hero of the 7 Deadly Sins story. Sure, the 7 Deadly Sins and their friends are all heroes too, but we know that they are because they are the main characters and we recognize them as such. But Zeldris is introduced later on in the story. He starts out as a villain, and because he sees the world from the perspective of the demons, it is easy to think of him as the bad guy. In reality, when we think of it from Zeldris' perspective, he wanted to bring peace and harmony to the underworld even though that went against the Demon King's wishes. He spared the vampires when he was commanded to kill them all, and he put his own life on the line multiple times in order to do the right thing. In the end, he risks his own life to take his father on directly, despite the fact that his father had a lifetime to indoctrinate him into his own cruel system of belief. Zeldris might not be a hero from the perspective of the goddesses or the humans because he was always seen as an enemy by them. But from the perspective of the demons, the vampires, and the other creatures of the underworld, Zeldris is a hero who was willing to defy the most powerful creature in the universe and even sacrifice his own life for a better and more harmonious future for all of them. Even though the manga appears to have forgotten him for a number of chapters, we should not forget Zeldris or his sacrifice. After all, what differentiates a decent story from a great one is the ability to develop not just one or two of your main characters, but also the less prominent characters. And Zeldris is a perfect example of the ability of the 7 Deadly Sins story to give even side characters a compelling character progression. So let me know what you guys think. Do you agree with me that Zeldris is an unsung hero who lived a tragic life but made the right choice in the end? Do you like Zeldris as a character, and what do you think will ultimately become of him and Gelda? Let me know down in the comments. If you enjoyed this video and you want to see more, you can leave a like to let me know. And if you're new to AnimeUproar, don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell. Also, be sure to check out our sponsor, Raid Shadow Legends, link in the description. As always, thank you guys so much for watching, thank you for requesting this video, and until next time, see ya, Space Cowboys.